I was sent this Am I the A-hole post from this man, and he has a wife and they have a 1-year-old daughter. And as I was reading this, it sounds like the wife has taken on the role of the typical dad in the relationship, but I didn't read the whole thing, so let's read this full thing together. The title kind of got me at first. It drew me in. He says, am I the a-hole for not letting my wife keep her old habits after we had a baby? Okay, that drew me in. So let's see what is going on. So he is 39, his wife is 34. He says, so here goes. My wife is a very active person with time-consuming hobbies and likes to spend time on those hobbies with her friends. This means sometimes she's gone for most of a weekend or a whole day every now and then. She also likes to help her friends, one in particular, with all of their problems any time of day, sometimes night. She also works pretty late, so I usually pick up our 1-year-old daughter. It is worth mentioning that I have 2 kids from a previous marriage, a 12-year-old daughter, 10-year-old son. Before we had our daughter, when we were discussing the possibility, I mentioned that it wouldn't work with her busy schedule and she would have to make huge changes if we were going to have a child together. She assured me she was on board with that and it wouldn't be a problem. That year, she went on 3 trips abroad without me, which was fine. But again, I mentioned this would not be possible once we had a child. Fast forward to us having a 6-month-old. Now she wants to go on a hobby-related trip with her friends for 5 days. Wouldn't it be terrible if she was left out? So, long story short, I was guilted into letting her go. She, of course, doesn't miss any of those weekends either, and unfortunately, they usually happen when I have my other children. I have them every other week. I'm wondering if she's planning that on purpose so she does not have to be involved with these other 2 kids. I feel it's really difficult to take good care of them when I'm alone with them and their baby sister, as she requires almost all of my time and attention. Another thing, she has never taken a summer vacation with me because she is always too busy. This is okay, but not ideal, as I am really bad at finding fun things to do with the kids on vacation. However, now she actually wants to go abroad for another hobby-related thing during my summer vacation with the kids. Not only do I find this unfair to me, but the kids as well, but she is pressuring me with guilt about how important this is to her and that her mother can take care of our daughter. I don't want to leave her with her grandmother for a week. So it seems that this woman is just avoiding his kids. She's like, I'm not playing stepmommy to these extra kids. She is finding a way to peace out. He says, I'm writing this on Easter Sunday alone with our daughter because she is on a road trip with her friend all day. She notified me of this, didn't ask me or discuss it, just let me know. This same friend wanted her to take a drive with her at 3 a.m. a few weeks ago. They apparently had to take someone to the airport. I said, forget it. You have a baby. Her friend does not. And I'm sick of this. She relented but calls me controlling for interfering. She was complaining about being sleepy all the next day. I wonder how tired she would have been. So I guess what I'm looking for is, am I really being controlling, or am I right and this is just not acceptable behavior for a family? I sometimes feel like we are just roommates who sleep together and have a child together rather than an actual family. Just like I thought as I was skimming through it. Her life didn't really change. She's like, cool, we're going to be good. We're going to have some babies. I'm in this. But her life didn't change. It sounds like these dudes that have no issue doing their golfing outings, their hunting trips, watching all of the hours that come along with their sports hobbies and all of that. She is playing the role that dads typically play. And now this dude is confused because he has 3 kids, 2 of which were, before her, and she is not stepping in to play the stepmommy to those kids. She's finding a way, a very convenient way to peace out when those extra kids are there. I don't know why I'm so tickled by this, but y'all needed to see it. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't think that he is being controlling for thinking that his wife should be more plugged in and not just running away and doing things for her friends. I don't think that that is controlling, because there needs to be some balance. I'm just kind of chuckling because it's usually the woman that is caught, making everything work, putting out fires and multitasking when daddy just jumps up and leaves and doesn't communicate. But like I said, I still believe that both parents should be equally checked into a relationship and family and, communicating well and all of that. Anyways, there have been some updates, so let's check these out. Update. Since this has come up many times, her hobbies are mostly dogs and horseback riding. She breeds dogs and to a much smaller extent horses. These hobbies do not generate income except barely to cover the cost of doing them, and therefore I call them hobbies. And more importantly, she agrees with this assessment. Which brings me to the next point. She found this post and understandably got a bit upset about all of the negativity here and felt that I had painted an unfair looking picture. She is probably right because I was writing the original post while my youngest daughter was still awake and I was feeling upset myself. Let me try to rectify that. She does take care of our daughter a lot. On weekdays, I go to work in the morning, but she usually doesn't go until after 12. So she takes care of the mornings. She has also taken the brunt of the nights when problems occur because I simply couldn't function at work if I did, and she had done a remarkable job at this. So also, she very often puts her to bed in the evening. So saying nasty things about her neglecting her daughter is not true. Also, I do not want to force her to quit her hobbies. That is not the issue and never has been. I guess what I want is consensus about things like suddenly going out for all of Easter Sunday to take pictures of dogs in nature, not just being informed about it with a little advance. Discussing things, making plans together, that is what family should do. Edit 2. First of all, I just want to say that most everyone is blowing this out of proportion and read all kind of things into everything I have said. I have seen so many quoting me on something I never said. As my previous update and the comment from my wife indicate, things are not nearly as bad as some may have imagined from the original post, which may have been poorly worded and even a bit overly dramatic. It is that there are periods where her presence, or rather lack thereof, feels quite insufficient, and this results in built-up frustration on my part, especially when plans are made without consulting or even discussing them at all beforehand. One of the handful of useful comments was someone who had been in a similar situation but reversed and pointed out that he didn't realize the situation even if it was pointed out to him. I am optimistic that we can improve things. As for those who said nasty things about her, you are making leaps of logic and assuming the absolute worst about people. I hope you see the error of your ways because nothing you have said is true. Like when they start doing that finger wagging, like how are people supposed to jump to any other conclusions if you only give the negative? Like literally people are just jumping to the conclusions based on what he wrote. All right, let's continue. There have also been a lot of negative comments directed at me, calling me a misogynist. That is hilarious and nothing is further from the truth. I don't know what else to say about it, but feels like many of those are actually misandrists themselves. So, thank you to those who were nice and helpful. I must say I overestimated the value in posting about these kinds of problems, especially since it can be extremely difficult to have a good enough picture for people to truly understand and not make leaps of logic to fill in the blanks. I love my wife and children, and I know she loves me and them all too. I doubt I will make another update. Everything will be fine, and we will continue to work toward a balance in the work, family, play, family puzzle most of us are struggling with. When people post in the Am I the A-hole subreddit, it's going to get a lot of attention. This has over 4,100 comments, and people will fill in the picture where there are blanks. So it's like if you don't want people to fill in these blanks, you have to fill folks in. Otherwise, yes, they're going to fill it in themselves and make the leap of logic, like this man has said a few different times. I'm not going to go through these comments. This has already been a long post with all of the edits and updates. And based on the edits and updates, we can probably tell what people were saying about this. I just thought it was kind of funny that this woman kind of flipped it and she did the whole reverse that, like I said, that the daddies typically do, but she's doing it as the mom. She's like, I am not going to change up my life that much. No, I'm good. I got to go hang out with these dogs. Y'all join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I was sent this post and I'm sure that it has several good retweets. But Big Lynn started a conversation saying, "Cohabitation, my foot." I'm eavesdropping on this group of guys sitting across my table, and they're talking about how they're tired of cohabitating with their girlfriends. And then Ryan reshares Big Lynn's post and starts up her own thread. She says, "So after the wedding, I moved in, and boom. He doesn't come home until past midnight, never around on weekends, always hiding in the toilet to smoke, leave plates on the table even when I'm not around, throws his dirty boxers under the bed, doesn't bathe unless he's going out." She continues with, "I would have seen all of these things and decided if I could cope or ask for changes if we had lived together at first. But it's too late now, and honestly, I'm struggling. Cohabitation doesn't have to mean sex. It's in fact a good way to test for self-control." And the crazy thing is, she might not have seen these things. Sometimes they can mask for a while until they have their hooks in you. So she might not have seen this. She might have thought she would seen it, but as many of these stories as I'm seeing, she might not have seen it. Also right here she says, "But it's too late now." And I really have to wonder, is it too late? Can't you move out? If you weren't living with him before, move out. Well, make a plan, move out, and get on with it. All right, she says, "Stay with that man for some time before you say I do, just to catch a glimpse of what you are really about to get into. Yes, people pretend, but the signs will be there. Love is not always enough. And if cohabitating with you for a few weeks or months makes him tired of you, what will happen to the together forever you're dreaming of?" And then this sister Agatha, I'm not, maybe sister Agatha says, "Any boxers I catch, that will be the end of it. By the time you buy 15 boxers in 1 month, your head will reset." And to that, Ryan laughed. So this is a man. He says, "Then divorce now. Oh, you're so poor. You're afraid of what life outside of marriage would look like. Got it." And then laughing emoji. At first I had to go look, like, is Ola a man or a woman? Definitely a man. He's a salesman. He likes tennis. Feminism is stupidly nonsensical. Totally a man. And then whatever he reposted down here. "I love my very fertile, young, tall, slim, beautiful virgin women hard, bro." And that's what Ola reposted. So yeah, totally a man. Okay, so now that we know who this man is in his thoughts, he's like, "Okay, you're so poor, you can't even leave your marriage." And to that, Ryan says, "Dear God, this one needs some sense. Give it to him." I don't know what IJN means, but she's like, "Give him some sense now. Amen." Now here, I don't know all of these words, but reading through it and knowing who he is, he's like, "Dear God, this woman is using this man who is leaving, can't clean up after himself. She's using him to cover up her poverty. Open that man's eyes, the dirty man's eyes, open up his eyes to see the light and divorce this fool." I think Wayray probably means fool or idiot or something. Obviously, he is insulting this woman simply because she married a man who is messy or disgusting and doesn't stay at home ever since she got married. I don't know why. This woman is going through some things. So why is it that this man is insulting her? It is very strange how they flip it. It's like Darvo, but he's not actually the one doing anything. It's Darvo on the other person's behalf. It just goes to show that they stay on code, is basically what I'm seeing. They stay on code. All right, so then this woman says, "Okay, so after you cohabitate for like a year or more and he's not what you want, you will then move on to cohabitate with another man until you find what you're looking for?" Very smart, very sarcastic, this comment is. And then Ryan says, "Yes, smart. You don't cohabitate with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You do it when things are getting serious and you're considering the permanent site with that one, just to be 100% sure before you seal the deal. And nobody says stay with the man for years. A few weeks is perfect." Dear Damsel says, "Weekend visits or occasional week or month-long visits is enough to have an idea of the kind of man you're about to marry. The problem is ladies get carried away emotionally and consciously or unconsciously block out their intuitions and unlook the glaring red flags because of love." And then Ryan says, emphasis on long visits. So this woman is kind of struggling, and she's beating herself up for not doing things that she thinks that she could have done in hindsight. But honestly, I don't think that it would have mattered, because some people can mask. Some people can keep things tidy for a while. They do believe that once you become a wife, you become a wife appliance, aka a servant. So I don't know that her life would be any different had she stayed with this man for 2 seasons or 2 years or whatnot. We don't know that for sure. But what we know in this moment is once she said, "I do," he changed. The mask slipped, and now he can be comfortable in who he wants to be. But what I don't get is why so many of these people are still so apprehensive about separation or divorce, unless it's cultural and she can't for whatever reason. So y'all chime in with this one. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I was tagged in this woman's post in the Ask Women Over 30 subreddit. She simply titled it Men's Apartments. So she says, I had this realization recently that in all my years of dating, I have never come across a nice single heterosexual man whose home was both tidy and well appointed. All the men whose homes I've been to seem to fall under the following categories. 1. Nice guy, tiny apartment, sparse or shabby furnishings, not comfortable overall. 2. Nice guy, filthy place. 3. Nice place, tidy, nicely furnished, but the guy turns out to be Patrick Bateman or Patrick Bateman. Or 4. Nice guy, clean, cute, comfortable place. He has a secret girlfriend who is out of town. Before we go further, we need to discuss that Patrick Bateman was a fictional character in a book and a movie, but I know him from the movie a long time ago. He was a serial unaliver and an investment banker, but you see he's portrayed as this clean-cut dude, but also can wield an axe. So I'm just putting that out there for the people that didn't know. All right, back to the post. She says, before anyone calls me shallow or materialistic, I'm not expecting perfection or for his place to look like the Ritz-Carlton. I just mean a kitchen table, a couch, a cozy blanket or throw pillow, a bed frame, a couple of pieces of art on the wall, hand soap and a towel, hand soap and towel in the bathroom, basic stuff. Anyways, what's your experience? Have you ever met the elusive guy who also has a nice apartment? Do I just have a long history of dating bums and dirtbags? Haha. Also, please don't get upset. It's not that serious, and it's not unreasonable to want a man to have a livable space. I thought that this would be interesting to see what the comments would be like, so let's jump in. Odd Faithlessness says, I have friends who have nice looking homes. Granted, I'm in the creative industry, so it attracts lots of people who are concerned with aesthetics. One common thread, though, toys. Lots and lots of toys. Callipy says, like Warhammer miniatures and Funko Pops, or an excessive amount of pleasure toys. And then ideally says, yeah, one guy just has ADHD or autism. The other is an ex-addict. Then Odd Faithlessness answers about the kind of toys, saying, LOL, a mix. Pop cultural toys mainly, so Funko Pops, Gashapo stuff. I don't know what Gashapo is. And maybe a stuffed animal here or there. Do those gratuitous anime figurines count as pleasure toys? I don't know. Definitely Not a Turtle says, creative industry people definitely have cooler homes, though I have found that even men who are not in a creative field professionally, but really enjoy a creative hobby like playing music, painting, or writing, tend to also enjoy decorating more than average. Another category of men who tend to care more about the look of their living space is those who travel a lot, even if they're minimalists. I find that most frequent travelers enjoy collecting art and displaying travel photos. I haven't dated since my mid-20s, but when I was dating, that was the general pattern. The more creative and well-traveled a guy was, the more likely that he cared how his home looked. Childish Cat Lady says, I can see this. My brother-in-law is in graphic design, and he's pretty stylish about home decorations. I hated going to my husband's apartment before we lived together. It was just not comfortable, like the OP said. He always comments that all his furniture has disappeared gradually through the years. I do point out that most of mine has too. We're not really stylish people, but we've certainly upgraded. Impressive Moment says, one of the things that made me think this guy might not be so bad in the beginning about my partner was the first time I went to his place. It was extremely clean, which is important to me, and it was nice. He didn't have fancy things, but he made the best with what he did have, and it was comfortable to be there, unlike the other places I have entered. LF3000 says, hey, same with my partner. I don't know if OP would count his place as well appointed since there's a lot of stuff that's secondhand. But one thing I noticed right away was he clearly had an aesthetic sense and put a lot of thought into the layout to make the most of the small space, hanging art, etc., and kept the place tidy and clean. DBTL87 says, I've dated a couple of guys and seen their apartments. One was almost 40 and slept on a pull-out sofa, but he said it was his place. He gave the other bedroom to his younger roommate. The other guy is very neat/tidy, was way younger than me, and his place was neat AF. I like the latter more. I vibed with neither at the end of the day. Vegetable Tableau says, oof, full-time bed equals pull-out sofa would be a hard pass for me. And then DBTL says, screaming, yeah, babe, and the peen was small and unsatisfactory. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. That made me laugh. Row, your goat says, I've met exactly one truly nice guy with a nice, clean, well-furnished, and comfortable apartment. He was a bachelor in his mid-30s and a very sweet and respectful guy. Most of his wall art was from comic books, but it was carefully selected, framed, and arranged. I'm marrying him in 2 months. Counterparts worth mentioning. The guy whose shower was so dirty I couldn't get it cleaned with my professional bathroom cleaning gear. The guy whose bed was a blanket on the hardwood floor. 2 guys who were basically homeless and dating so they had somewhere warm to sleep. The guy who lived in his mother's basement, and the only bathroom we could use was the master bathroom upstairs in his mother's bedroom. Okay, those counterparts are terrible. The Song Is in My Head says, why were you cleaning his shower? And then Row, your goat says, he was moving out and I was trying to help him get his deposit back. It was a lost cause. That is bad. Okay, so we got Hot Burrito. She says, haha, I've met a few, but they're definitely rare and almost always East Asian, which I am as well, hence the sample size. Don't know if it's a broader cultural thing or just my unique experience though. They were overwhelmingly either Hong Kongers or Chinese Singaporean, plus the occasional Korean, and generally from upper middle class backgrounds. The decor style was almost always Japandi too. Also, these guys didn't tend to remain single for very long. It usually felt like I encountered them while they were between girlfriends. For single white dudes, the only times I saw a nice apartments were when they were a bit stereotypically, but hey, this is genuinely my experience, gay, and or, as you said, emitting low to high key Patrick Bateman vibes. Early adopter crypto bros whom I used to work with and who would throw parties at their luxury condos / penthouses, basically. So crypto bros / probably serial unalivers. Spychowski I says, I'm Singaporean Chinese. The entire reason why this is so is because our parents actually discipline us, often excessively, and appearances are extremely important to everybody. Even then, some somehow drop under the radar. They might be clean, but they are also the most misogynistic men I've encountered. And then Hot Burrito says, oh girl, trust me, I get it. I'm from a similar background myself, hence the sample size. But yeah, I was just trying to speak descriptively of my experiences, not throw a positive or negative value judgment. Okay, minus the crypto bros. That was intentional shade. I think it's important to see what women are seeing across spectrums, across culture, across race, all of that. So chime in. What have you seen as far as heterosexual men's living spaces? Go ahead and chime in on what you've seen, describe them. You know, this woman, she has a really good list. How do they fall in that list of things? Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share.
If you're over 5'5" and you make over 5 figures, you are in the top 1%. I am in the top 1%. Being the assistant manager at Burger King made me realize women flock to money. They see the watch, 3 figures, and they come crawling. And you know what I tell most of them? I'm not really interested unless your body count starts with 0. I know my value. I know my worth as a man. We men, we don't need women. They need us to survive, to be financially secure. I can give a woman financial freedom. Any female would be lucky to have me. If you are trying to approach me, 33 and successful, making well over 5 figures as a female, and your body count is not 0, I'm gonna spit in your face. No, I'm gonna spit in your face. Because these women, these females need to realize that we men who are over 5'5", who make those 4 figures every paycheck, we set the standard. Not only does your body count need to be 0, you also must be less than 20 years old. Anything above 20 and your brain is automatically corrupted as a female. And always remember, guys, a master key is one that can open many locks, but a lock that can be opened by many keys, that's not a good lock. It is that simple. And if you live with this mentality, you too will start to get women flocking to you.